Akhil and Swati for such an inspiring one. It is particularly interesting to hear of the inclusive hiring strategy. I especially made a note of the fact that Amazon's delivery service partners operate 4 all-women delivery stations across India, fully run by women, and 1 silent delivery station in Mumbai with opportunities for speech and hearing impaired associates. Inspiring. Moving on from here, do you know India is the second largest technology hub for Amazon? Indian talent is powering innovations for India as well as globally. Up next, we have a powerful panel discussion with some of our engineering minds to know how Amazonians are working on disruptive technological innovations from India that impact customers and businesses in India and globally.
Hi, everyone. I'm Anil Warrior, and I lead the talent acquisition team for AWS in India. I would like to welcome you all to this session where we talk about the pivotal role of technology across Amazon. Amazon's journey for the close to 2 decades in India have been made possible by the huge contributions from employees we have hired, who are led by the desire to deconstruct, create, and innovate on behalf of our customers. From the very beginning, Amazon has been an early proponent of technologies such as AI, ML, Alexa, cloud, and many more. Today, at the first Career Day event in India, we have the pleasure of bringing some fellow Amazonians to discuss a few areas they are working on these technologies that is impacting businesses and consumers alike. I now have 3 panelists with me. I will go around and introduce them. First is Nikhil Rasivasya. He's a senior manager with the Applied Sciences team in Amazon India. Nikhil has published several papers and also has received the Best Paper Award in ACM Multimedia 2010. At Amazon, Nikhil's team is responsible for leveraging ML to tackle problems in the areas of catalog quality, shopping experience, and product design insights. My second panelist is Deepa Balakrishnan. She's a senior manager with the Alexa Experience team. Deepa leads the India Customer Engagement Charter for Amazon Alexa, the voice service that powers Amazon's Echo and Fire TV products. She and her team work to drive awareness of what Alexa can do to customers, create new engaging experiences, and provide a defect-free, delightful voice experience that customers enjoy. My third panelist is Kanishka Agarwal. He's part of the public sector organization in AWS India, and he heads India and South Asia for the service lines. At Amazon, Kanishka works very closely with public sector, central and state government, education, health sectors, not-for-profit organizations, travel, and a bunch of PSUs to drive AI at scale for citizen impact. Thank you, Nikhil, Deepa, and Kanishka joining us for this discussion. With digital taking a center stage in our lives in this new normal, access to technology has become an essential today. Deep customization, enabled by cutting-edge technologies, have become critical in order to design an enhanced and value-added customer experience. This brings to me my first question to you, Nikhil. As the ability to deliver more and more sophisticated digital experiences has evolved over a period of time, the expectation and the demand from the customers have also gone the same way up, isn't it? From brands they engage with across retail, media and entertainment, travel, hospitality, and many more. Can you tell us how ML has come to play such a central role at Amazon?
You're right, Anil. Machine learning today has become a household phrase, and at Amazon, we are indeed using machine learning to help deliver highly personalized experiences. This is resulting in improvements in both customer engagement and satisfaction. For instance, consider the diversity of online shoppers in India. There are more than 600 million people online in the country with varying degrees of expertise to shop online. They use diverse range of mobile devices, experience fluctuating speeds due to congested towers or tower switching, etc., etc. So we have deployed models to predict customers who are on a slow or a spotty network based on criteria like device characteristics, cell tower information, and the latency of the last request, and so on. So for such customers, we provide an adaptive experience and serve streamlined pages with a lower number of widgets that are easier to navigate. Search is another area. It's a single biggest facilitator of product discovery for a customer at Amazon. Here, key challenges ML is helping with include understanding the query semantics, segmenting queries, identifying phrases and brand mentions in the query, correcting spell errors, supporting colloquial usages like juta, classifying the query into categories, and so on. Our search ranking algorithms display relevant products while concurrently optimizing multiple other objectives. For example, delivery speed, the quality of the product, the price competitiveness, etc. Besides, machine learning solves common problems like popularity bias, which is when a customer is merely shown the most popular product versus what is relevant for them, and a cold start problem, which is when the system has no user, item, or content history. So it's not able to make the right judgment call, which dilutes the customer experience and the ability to discover new items or new content in the catalog. Similarly, in the Amazon app, to make selection accessible in vernacular languages like Hindi, Telugu, Tamil, Kannada, and Malayalam, we have built statistical and neural machine translation models to automatically translate large volumes of product content. As a result, today, when a customer visits Amazon.in, each customer sees their own Amazon. Not only text, but to adapt Alexa, which is what a lot of customers today engage with and enjoy using, we wanted Alexa to operate in Hindi. So to interact in Hindi, we have created extensive data in the form of raw speech from multiple speakers. Another factor which has enabled machine learning to reach masses is the distributed and scalable architecture to train and deploy ML models.
Hey, thanks, Nikhil. Deepa, coming to you, how is Alexa actually helping customers interact more intuitively using their voice?
So I think the most natural interface for us to use and as a child is our voice, right? So it's making the most complex things really, really simple when you can just ask for help. And Alexa is sort of the future in fundamentally changing and improving the way. And voice just removes a lot of the barriers that are there to technology. As Nikhil was talking about just a little bit ago, we are seeing that shift within the Amazon shopping app today. We have customers on the app who use their voice to make purchase experience easier. People are searching and learning more about products. They are navigating to the pages that they want to, finding deals, making bill payments, all much, much faster using voice. And in fact, last Diwali, we had shared that over 1 million customer requests had come to Alexa for support during the Prime Early Access, and we've only been growing since there. Uh, the change that we are seeing, or the intuition, is not just on voice shopping. There are hundreds and thousands of customers all across India who've purchased Echo devices. They are interacting millions of times in English, Hindi, English. Again, as Nikhil talked about, the Hindi model training, etc., and asking for a variety of inputs: music, information, jokes, and smart home. And these are not just customers who come to us from the metros like Delhi or Bombay, but these are also from smaller cities like Spiti, Bandi, Gadchiroli. And creating this experience for them has required us to do a lot of in country innovation. The first thing is India is unlike any other country. It's almost it is a subcontinent. So the language changes every 100 kilometers. Each language has accents and idioms. So when we first launched, Alexa needed to understand like the nuances and context of every customer's speech that's going to happen. And we had to unlearn a lot of things that we'd learned from the US. So even if the customer doesn't speak English very well, not very grammatically, you could ask for any regional song and Alexa needed to play it. And that's the moment of customer delight that Alexa would bring. And that's where the intuition comes in, where Alexa is able to understand what the customer is saying, even if the customer is not saying it perfectly and grammatically. And from the time Alexa launched in India, she could understand proper nouns in Hindi, Marathi, Gujarati, Kannada, and so on. And we focus on relentlessly improving this year over year because that's a primary aspect of delight. And it's not complex high-tech stuff. There's also a lot of fun ways. We've got brands and developers who want to engage with users via voice, with very personalized and immersive engagement experiences. We have over 30,000 skills on Alexa that cover the gamut of the ABCDE consumption: astrology, Bollywood, cricket, devotion. And Alexa is now an integral part of many Indian households. And the voice interactions just lower the barrier to embrace technology across all age groups. And we just want to continue innovating on behalf of our customers to make Alexa more relevant and useful and intuitive.
Thanks, Deepa. Kanishka, coming to you, the technologies that Nikhil and Deepa were referring about for the last few minutes were actually required a lot of scalable infrastructure to handle the workloads and provide the best customer experience. Now, from an AWS perspective, Kanishka, can you just explain how AWS is playing a role in enabling startup focus in the business while AWS manages their infrastructure needs?
Sure. Thanks, Anil. The way we look at the entire gamut of startups, and our focus has been since 2019 that we will go ahead and support early stage startups, especially those that are helping government customers accelerate their mission. And if you look at the way government customers typically build their entire mission statements and their solutions, they require not just nimble startups, but startups that can have a very cost optimized architecture. People that can scale up and scale down, because the way you see demand coming in, especially for public sector, it could move up and down based on how it is being consumed over a period of time. So, startups are required to bring in a very robust, scalable architecture, at the same time keep it lean because they want to keep their costs low as they start scaling up. And that's where I think Amazon Web Services step in. We do have an extremely cost-effective model to provide startups access to all of these on-demand compute resources on a pay-as-you-go model. I mean, think of it today just like electricity, right? When you switch on a switch for a bulb, you essentially pay for only the time that you consume that electricity for, and the minute you switch it off, you don't pay for it. And that's very similar how AWS and the pay-as-you-go model works. And we are dedicated to help our startups achieve what we call as the highest saving potential on their technology spends. Just about recently, we actually launched the AWS Startup Ramp, which is an acceleration program that will help these early stage startups to develop innovative solutions for public sector customers. And this is not just limited to a set of public sector organizations, but it will span across the national and the local government bodies. It will go across space, defense, healthcare, agriculture, name it. But anything that is out there for citizen impact, the Amazon Startup Ramp program will help. With this program, you can actually have all of these qualifying startups start getting low cost, very simple to use infrastructure that's designed for them to scale up and scale down, as well as grow a business at any point in time. During the entire development phase that we saw during this program, we actually worked with several startups, some of them, especially in the agri space, for example, TraceX or Unmiti, or for example, a fintech startup, which is Whirl. All of these were very focused on extremely distinct needs that the government technology sector needs. Because these startups are so unique, as AWS, we do want to make sure that they're able to scale up and drive citizen impact.
Hey, thanks, Ganesh. But so do you manage the enablement and scale innovation yourself, or do you work with external partners? Do you have some view or examples on that?
Sure. This works both ways. In a lot of senses, we actually partner with organizations, including government bodies, to drive scale. Take, for instance, last year, we actually set up one of our world's first Federal Cloud Innovation Center with Niti Aayog, which we christened as Frontier Technologies Cloud Innovation Center. And what that really does is it addresses the core mission of identifying and deploying leading edge technologies. Take ML, take blockchain, take IoT, take AR, VR, all of these technologies being deployed at scale for citizen impact. As a specific example, in fact, Niti Aayog now, under the aegis of the CIC, as we call it, the Cloud Innovation Center, collaborated with the DigiYatra Foundation for a DigiYatra Central Ecosystem Challenge for Indian startups. And maybe this is interesting because a lot of you do travel domestically as air passengers. Today you use a boarding pass to get into an aircraft, navigate through the entire airport. But slowly you will be able to use just your face as a biometric validation. And it's a real-time selfie-based facial recognition that will get a seamless, contactless, safe, frictionless travel across the point that you actually enter an airport to the point you disembark during your travel. Take the pandemic itself, and during both the waves, actually, more so during the first wave, NASSCOM actually got in touch with us and said, can we actually put out a data platform that can just provide information across those various government data sets or public/private data sets that were coming in and provide insights of what's happening. And we did that with the government of Telangana. We put out close to about 100 dashboards, which had hundreds and thousands of COVID-related data points for use. And this became a huge NASSCOM project for us to showcase. Similarly, during the first wave, there was a lot of restrictions in the way movement of goods and vehicles used to happen. And the eGovernments Foundation collaborated with us to develop what we called as the National COVID-19 ePass solution. And this was really put out in 72 hours. And that should tell you the scale in which cloud really works. That within 72 hours, we were able to get a digital pass management system that was deployed across multiple states. And while there was a lockdown, it could still ensure smooth movement of any essential service provider across or within the states. When the second wave happened, we were faced with a very unique problem. There was a lot of donor aid that was coming in from, and this was foreign donor aid, which was coming into the country. And people had no way to track it. So when the donor would send in, they had no way to know whether it reached the end beneficiary. The government by itself had a lot of siloed views of this donor aid coming in, and they had no idea where should they allocate it. Was it the right place to send it? Did they have to send the concentrators to a particular location? Or did it have too much of it and it had to be rerouted elsewhere? And Niti Aayog got in touch with us and said, can you actually put out a relief portal that will have an end-to-end monitoring of this supply chain and tracking of all of this aid? And in about 5 days, we put out something called the COVID, which was a relief portal that had an end-to-end flow of the aid. It was able to determine who got it. And therefore, the donors actually had confidence that their aid finally reached the necessary beneficiary or the recipient and was most gainfully employed. Going a little ahead outside of the pandemic, we today work with the Common Services Center. And you'll find several of these, not just in tier 1 or tier 2 cities, but across all of the nation. And there are, I believe, about 2 lakh plus of these Common Services Center that drive a lot of citizen services at grassroots level. And they have access points basically for all of their essential public utility services. Think of social welfare schemes. Think of any services related to land records, healthcare, finance. So people could go in and use these places. And now today we are enabling the Common Services Center with our services to help them scale up each of these solutions. And not just that, also provide some gainful employment for the rural economy of the country. And to finally cap this, earlier this year, we actually worked with the Ministry of Electronics and Information IT. This was METI, that helped establish what we called as the Quantum Computing Applications Lab. And this is, again, something we wanted to see that can accelerate quantum computing-led research to drive new development, to enable new scientific discoveries. So Anil, to your point, yes, there are a number of these institutes as well as government bodies that we today work with to drive citizen impact.
Thanks, Kanishk. Coming to you, Nikhil, Kanishka was just mentioning about some of the citizen services provided during the pandemic. Now, from your space in terms of AI and ML, and where we have an expertise for more than 2 decades now, can you share any recent example where the team worked on that actually helped during the pandemic, both the waves?
Yeah, no, I mean, the last 18 months, right? I mean, we have focused on areas, that would keep people safe. So, I mean, the whole intent was that, the business still needs to run, people still need to get things. And, how can we do that in a safe way, right? And how do we help people get what they want during these trying times, right? So I mean, we have been focusing on a couple of applications, both how do you enable safer delivery, and also keep our employees safe. So one very interesting app I would give an example of is the CRISP mobile app, right? So we developed CRISP, which stands for COVID Risk Score Prediction. It's a mobile app to detect and tackle the spread of COVID-19 amongst the workers in the fulfillment centers and sorting centers and so on, right? So this app uses Bluetooth signals from mobile to track social contacts between users, and it generates a risk infection score for every employee. So if an associate which has a very high risk score, you can prioritize them for testing, right? So the model was built off the SEIR, which stands for Susceptible, Exposed, Infectious, Removed approach. That's commonly used to track different epidemiological status of individuals. So our model captures the transition between these different states, from susceptible to exposed to infectious to removed, while also accounting for the test outcomes. And a lot of ML went behind making sure the outcomes are reliable and confident. So we developed a block Gibbs sampling algorithm to draw samples of the latent infection status of each individual, given data about contacts and test results. And these infection status samples are then used to compute infection risk score for each individual. So the goal was to track adherence to social distancing of our associates in various locations, like, again, as I said, fulfillment centers, sort centers, or delivery stations. So this allowed the supervisors to take appropriate interventions.
Yeah, thanks, Nikhil. I just want to continue with you. And it was interesting you called out social distancing. I think that's one of the mantras of our life nowadays. So I just wanted to understand about areas where ML has integrated into our system and some kind of a impact, small or big, for customers positively. An example of an area where your team in India would have worked with other teams across the world in Amazon.
Yeah, machine learning is, sometimes integrated so well into the system, and it works so seamlessly in the background that, the customers are not even aware that a machine learning system was used to provide that experience that they are observing, right? But it becomes an essential part of the entire ecosystem. For example, we enrich products in an automated fashion to improve the catalog health, right? A lot of people list products on Amazon, and then a lot of information is provided. If the information is not in the right structure, or if information is missing, it leads to dissatisfaction at the time of purchase. So we build models to categorize products, and behind the scenes, make sure it's in the right category. Information such as the RAM size and the color, the material, and all that, which is useful for customers to filter products. Make sure those are all filled in. So this all happens behind the scenes, and it's all powered through machine learning, right? So in fact, both these solutions I'm talking about, we built, we launched 2 projects for the same, and they were launched worldwide. While we have made great strides in this direction, we are constantly looking for newer ways to continue to double down our efforts in developing technologies to continuously innovate and build the best shopping experience for customers by working backwards from their needs.
Kanishka, coming to you, can you tell us how AWS services in developing innovations have really made a citizen impact at scale in this country, specifically during the pandemic?
Sure. And I think we've seen this especially during the pandemic, right? And it's been a massive shift in the way scale has come into bear. Look at the entire vaccination program, or look at the entire COVID triaging, the post-COVID house monitoring programs, and so on and so forth. I think more and more public sector organizations have had a chance to see how cloud technologies can help accelerate their digital transformation, and how they can drive innovation much faster to benefit citizens and in turn the national economy. Take, for instance, the Project Step One, and we're extremely proud of having worked with them and continue to work with them. Project Step One really was born out of the pandemic. This is a non-profit, volunteer-led initiative that really augments existing government resources with either technology, people, or processes. This has about 1,000 plus doctors enlisted, about 5,000 plus volunteers enlisted on them. And what it does is it goes ahead, it integrates with the government processes and systems and provides appropriate telemedicine support for COVID-affected citizens. And all of this is free of charge to the citizens. it's pro bono to the government, which goes to my earlier point, right? That then any startup that needs to provide services, especially for citizen impact, needs to keep their costs low. And in this case, well, when the service is offered for free and pro bono, then there is a bigger pressure coming in on keeping their entire infrastructure extremely nimble. Now, since about March 2020, Step One has worked in about 21 states. They've gone ahead, done things like pre-COVID triaging, COVID positive triaging, home isolation monitoring, and then further on long COVID support. And their entire technology stack is today hosted on AWS Cloud. And that's only because, one, it offers the best in class tools, and it's managed services which are very essential for an organization like Step One. And you would say, well, what's so unique about Step One, right? You could have this hosted anywhere else. The key USP is that Step One has not a single DevOps person. It probably has one or two volunteers that manage the IT deployment, but beyond that, there are no DevOps persons. So everything is out of the box on AWS, and that becomes a quick agility that Step One has. To react very quickly to either the rise in cases or the fall in cases. So when the second wave went up between that April May timeframe, Step One was able to ramp up very quickly on this infrastructure. But then as it started tapering down and as it started falling, it was able to quickly scale down as well and start saving costs. And that's where we provide those managed versions for any open source software that is out there to deploy and scale.
Hey, thanks. Coming to you, Deepa, Nikhil was mentioning about training data and algorithms that were created in Hindi. Can you tell us something more about how Alexa is catering to a faster growing user base, which probably is more comfortable in engaging in native languages?
Absolutely, Anil. When we started out, as I said, we had to understand content in all the different languages, and we now support news experiences in multiple languages, multiple regional languages: Tamil, Telugu, Urdu, Marathi, Bengali. And one of the biggest steps that we took was actually to support Hindi interactions itself, and this happened late about late 2018 or so. And Alexa could then understand customers who were speaking to her completely in Hindi or in English. And English was important because Indians speak in mixed languages. There's a sentence in English or a sentence in Hindi, and we wanted Alexa to be able to interact with all family members and reply either in English or in Hindi based on who is speaking to her and in what language. And we built this support by a bilingual ASR system. And this is what we call as Alexa's multilingual mode. So you could have one question in Hindi, one question in English, and Alexa would seamlessly switch between the two to keep the conversation going. And we also needed to understand a lot of cultural and subcultural context within Hindi. So we started seeing content requests that were unique. We had to support Haryanvi music, which we'd not really encountered at scale earlier. We created content such as Shairi, which was like a whole new segment of content that we'd not had earlier. And today, customers can say, Alexa, Bollywood ke latest gaane bajao ya cricket score batao. And despite having mixed script in there, it all just works very, very well. And it goes back to creating like this intuitive experience for a native speaker. And one of the most recent things that happened, which was just last week, is the availability of Amitabh Bachchan's voice now on Alexa. And he's the biggest icon on Indian cinema. Most Indians can recognize his voice. And we have poems, anecdotes, there's a lot of interesting information. And this is another big milestone in localizing Alexa so that the service is more delightful and entertaining. And we call this as the Desi Alexa. And we have pronunciation and diction that's different even within Hindi. So we are continuing to learn. There are many requests or words that we may not understand just as yet. So we continue to expand understanding in local languages. Customers are being very patient with us, and we totally appreciate it. We take their feedback, and we're taking the time to make sure that Alexa can learn more. And we'll use the latest advancements in ML and neural networks to make sure that Alexa gets smarter. And it's always day one here, so we've got a way to go.
Thanks, Deva. I will continue with you now because How about the changing trends in customer engagement? Have you seen any marked differences between customer engagements with Alexa pre-COVID and during the pandemic?
Oh, absolutely. So I think COVID-19 has definitely changed all our lives. And Alexa is a trusted companion for our customers, and Alexa has had to keep pace as well. So over the last year and a half, as we're all spending more time at home, remotely managing lives, all of the lines between work and play and home has all blurred. Many of our routines have changed, so we needed to like sort of set up new routines. And predictably, we saw customers asking for more health related queries. That was almost a 3 times increase. So we had a question almost every 15 seconds, and questions were on about COVID. We had a symptom checker that we had launched. There was questions on like health benefits of food items, treatments for common ailments, all of which we supported. We saw a lot of interest in workout music as people started thinking about how do you keep yourself going in the pandemic. So we had workout music requests. The 7-minute workout skill just became really popular in March, when I think we all wanted to get the most out of the least amount of time. So and we also saw requests for simple things like Alexa, remind me to drink water. And it just talks about how much our lives have changed when you need a reminder from Alexa to do something as simple as that. And I think what was most touching for me as a product owner to see is uh, Alexa also got lots of love and affection. And just like you would ask a family member, people were concerned about Alexa's well being. And almost 3 times every minute, we got asked, Alexa, kaisi ho, or Alexa, how are you? Which is just quite nice to see that people are personifying Alexa.
Hey, thanks, Deepa. Very touching. I think we're almost out of time. Nikhil, you had some very interesting stories about ML at Amazon. What would be your suggestions for youngsters who want to build an aspiring career in AI ML at Amazon?
Yeah, no, I think it's clear now that ML is one of the most disruptive technologies we will encounter in our generation, and customers today are applying machine learning to the core of their businesses, and this is not only in retail, across the industry, healthcare, retail, media, finance services, manufacturing. Everybody is leveraging machine learning, to help their customers better, serve them better, to gain advantages using machine learning, right? And I think what has changed in machine learning for the past 5, 7 years is it's no longer only about science or research, right? We are talking about applied science now, right? And when we get to an application of machine learning, there are a lot more skill sets, a lot more things one needs to be careful about. What is the cost of innovation, deployment? The models deteriorate over time because they are based on data. How do we, have systems which self improve over time? And so there are a lot of interesting innovations that are being done in this space of machine learning, applied to business problems. So if you're passionate about technology and want to make a difference to customers' life, then I think Amazon is a perfect place for you.
Thanks, Nikhil. Deepa, you must be hiring a lot of people into your Alexa journey, isn't it? So, what would be your suggestion to the younger talent as to who wants to join your team?
Oh, we've got a lot of diverse career paths within Alexa. So there's as many roles that index on the left brain as the right brain. So it's not just a world full of research scientists and data engineers, etc. So we've got roles in software development, research, and ML, but we also have roles in research for people who can help us understand what customers want, voice design to create these new interaction paradigms, linguists and language engineers who come and work with us in the language understanding space. And there are a lot of creative roles in content and marketing. So uh, it's a very diverse bag. Our journey is just starting. Yeah, Alexa in overall is very, very young. There's a lot that we need to understand and create for the customer. So we would love for people who have a true builder's mindset, who are thinking big, curious to learn, unlearn, willing to define and redefine the space for the customer to come and join us.
Thanks, Deepa. Kanishka, you are with AWS and you were mentioning about AWS working very closely with public sector, state government, central government agencies, and particularly during the pandemic. So, what will be your suggestion to talent, who would want to work in that space within AWS?
Sure. I think there's something, and probably a lot of people have probably heard this earlier. At AWS, we don't mind being called peculiar. We see a lot of beauty in simplifying very complex tasks, and we're comfortable with being misunderstood in the long term. And that sounds very unorthodox, but our very unusual approach and our culture that's focused on removing obstacles so that builders can build, just like Deepa just mentioned, are really a part why our employees enjoy working at AWS. And I want to talk about three specific pillars that we are on. Right, we're very, very unusually customer focused. Almost about 90% of what we build is what customers ask us. And the other 10% that we actually build is things that we hear from customers that they may not be able to articulate. But we try and read between the lines and invent on their behalf. The second is that we are pioneers. We like to hire builders who would look at customer experiences that are flawed and then figure out how to reinvent in those. In a space like cloud that's moving this fast, to be working with a company that has the most functionality, that's probably iterating the quickest, that has the largest community, that had a vision for cloud from the start without actually having to patch together acquisitions, I think that's very attractive. And third, most importantly, like I said, we're very, very long-term oriented. You will not see our folks end up at a customer's door just a day before the year end or the end of the quarter and try to get them into a sale, and not to be seen again for the year. We are trying to build a relationship and a business that will last a lot longer than all of us in this room. So for people who like to build, I would say there's absolutely no better place to build than AWS.
Thanks, Kanishka. With that, I think we are almost coming to the end of this panel discussion. I would once again thank my colleagues, the folks in the panel, Nikhil, Deepa, and Kanishka, for sharing the views. I would really like to thank all of you who have logged in for this fantastic session. I'm assuming that it has been a very interesting and very informative session as well. So thanks again, stay tuned, and have a good rest of the day.
Great stuff. So exciting to learn how Amazon is harnessing new technologies to generate a societal impact. What a great way to wrap up our show today. With this, we come to an end of the main stage programming of Amazon India Career Day. Our recruiters will be continuing their one-on-one career coaching sessions for the rest of the day, so many more of you will be able to seek information about the application and interview process at Amazon and discuss resume tips. If you missed any of our programming, you can find it on demand in a few minutes at amazoncareerday.com. Also, you can learn more about the corporate, tech, and operations positions currently available at Amazon at amazon.jobs. We have thousands of positions open right now, and I encourage you to apply. Before we go, I would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone who contributed to making this first ever India Career Day possible. Thanks to our moderators, panelists, employees who shared a plethora of information and trivia with us. Thank you from all of us at Amazon to everyone who joined us today from all over India as well as from other countries. We hope you found the sessions interesting and informative, and there was something for all of you to take away from the sessions. Amazon wishes each and every one of you success in your career journey. Come and build the future with us. I'm Rashi Bishnoi, signing off for Amazon Career Day. Thank you.